Okay, in this video we're going to show how our concrete columns and beam assemblies work. So the first thing we'll do is go to our estimating tab. We'll pull over a couple location folders to put those in. So we'll go to our concrete location folders. We'll drag over the first one and we'll call it first level columns, and then we'll drag another one over and we'll select first level beams for that one. So we'll go back to our home tab and to our concrete assemblies, and we've got two main column assemblies that come with the plugin. One is for square columns, one is for round columns. So we'll take a look at our square columns real quick, and again we could name the assembly whatever we needed to call it, so that we can identify it on the reports. And then we've got a square columns bid amount per each column, so you could plug in a number here for bidding purposes per column. You've got a waste percentage you can factor in for your material waste, and then a multiply. So you know, if we're doing again, this plan page is 1/2 of the foundation, and the other side is just a mirrored flip of this plan, you could set your multiply to 2, and it's going to automatically double your takeoff quantities. So we click over here to our concrete tab, and this is where we can input our information for the size of our column. So we got our column width of 12 inches, column length of 12, and a column height of 8 feet. Just by default, we'll leave that in there. Of course, you could just input whatever your column size is there. You make your concrete selection from the list. Again, any items that you don't see in your drop downs, you can go to your list tab and find the appropriate list and just customize that list however you want to customize it. And then we can select whether we need forms or not. If we don't want to see form material populated in our reports, we can just select NA. If we do calculate for our forms, square column forms, then it's going to give us our total square footage of form material that we need. And then we can select our reinforcing for the column. So we've got two different sizes of vertical rebar that we can select. And then we can select our quantity per column of each size rebar. And then we can also select our vertical rebar length. You know, sometimes you've got a 10-foot column, but maybe you know, a lot of times your rebar will need to extend up above the column to tie into a beam above. So you can manually put whatever length you need to put in there. And then we can also pick up rebar stirrups. If we've got ties or stirrups that we need to pick up, we can select that item, and then we can select on center spacing for that. Then we'll go here for our folder, and we'll make sure we've got our first level columns folder selected. And we'll just go through here and pretend like we've got some square columns in here. Okay, now the round columns is going to be very similar as far as the way the assembly is set up. Again, we could name that whatever we want. Other selections are the same. With the concrete, we're going to select our column diameter and our column height. Again, we'd select our concrete PSI, and then whether or not we need forms. With our rebar, pretty much going to be the same as far as our selections. We got two different vertical rebar sizes that we can select, and lengths we can select for that. And then we can also pick up our stirrups for that as well. So we'll click OK, and we'll just go through here and take off a few round columns. All right. Let's take a look at our reports real quick. So if we look at our materials by location report, and we look over here at our first level columns location, So here's all the material that's been calculated based on our takeoff that we just did for our columns, and because we placed them in the first level columns folder, it's going to organize the material by that location. And you can see with the description it's breaking out the difference between square columns and round columns. So we've got our stirrups. We've got both of our round stirrups and square stirrups. We've got all of our vertical rebar concrete form material. So if we look at our consolidated report, again, we're just continuing to build one consolidated list of materials for the whole project. And then if we look at our bid detail report, we'll see that we've now got a new location of first level columns, and we've got our breakdown of our quantity times our price each that we figured for our bid amount. Okay, now our concrete beams. We've got a linear concrete beam assembly that, again, that you could, as with any of our assemblies, you can go in and easily duplicate them and then rename them and preset the selections to whatever type of beam that you want to set up. If it's something that you use, over and over again with multiple plans, then obviously that would save you time. You can actually just build yourself a library of assemblies set up exactly the way that you want them set up. So with our concrete beams, again, we would name the beam whatever size beam, any other thing we needed to include to be able to identify it. And same thing with the material waste percentage, the multiply, and then we've got a beams bid amount per foot. So we've just got $5 plugged in there. With our concrete, we'll select our concrete PSI, our beam width, our beam depth, and whether or not we need forms. Then for our rebar, again, we've got two different sizes of continuous rebar that we can select for the beam, and then a multiplier to multiply, how many continuous runs of each size of rebar we need in the beam. And then we can also pick up our beam stirrups, our rebar stirrups. We can select our size, material, and then our on-center spacing for that. And then we would want to, again, make sure we select our appropriate location folder. So we'll choose our first level beams, and we'll just say we've got concrete beam runs across these columns here. All right, so if we go check our reports on our materials by location report, we'll see that we've added a location in the report for first level beams, and we have our materials that we've quantified here under first level beams. We've got our stirrups, our continuous rebar, our concrete, and our beam forms. Again, with the consolidated list, we're just continuing to consolidate all the materials, consolidate all of the like name materials for the project. And then in our bid detail report, we'll see that we have a new location here for first level beams. We've got 52 feet of beam times, I think we had $5 plugged in there, so that's giving us our bid amount for our concrete beams.